Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to a new episode of the Draftnerds Podcast. Hey, y'all, it's draft day. And so, you know what that means? I got to bring my guy in, CORDELL Woodland, representing 105.7 The Fan, covering the Orioles and the Ravens. Also, co host of the Fresh Take on the same station. CORDELL, what's up, man? How you doing?
What's going on, man? Appreciate you having me.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir, man. So, it's draft day, and everybody talks about the draft, right? It's the biggest time of the year. You cover one of the best teams in the NFL, and you do a damn good job at it, by the way. And
Appreciate it.
so, with that being said, um, you know why we had to bring you in, man. But before we get into that, real quick, I just want to give you right here, congratulations. You got married recently. So tell us about that. How was that? How was the wedding? And congrats, man.
Yeah, appreciate it, man. It was great. I mean, everybody tried to warn me going into it that the day was going to fly by, and it did. But it was a great day. It went, better than we both had kind of thought it would. So that was a huge win, and went to Jamaica the next week for the honeymoon. That was great. That was a blast. So really kind of just I would say a couple of days ago, finally getting back into the swing of things of, real life, not having a butler, two butlers there waiting on you, and sand in the ocean and a beautiful weather. I mean,
Mhm,
even though the weather is breaking out here, it's great out here these days too, but don't have the scenery out here
mhm.
that we had in Jamaica. But it's been great. And now it's time for the draft to kind of start speeding towards rookie mini camp, OTAs, mini camp, all that good stuff. So it's about that time.
Yeah, man, it's time to get locked in. And hey, man, that's awesome, man. Congrats again. I actually got married in Jamaica.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, yo, we got married in the grill, uh, Jamaica in 2023. So
Okay.
I know what that's like to have to come back home to reality after being treated like a king for a
Right.
week. So I definitely understand. I was like, man, the first time I went to a restaurant when because the resorts are all inclusive. So the first
Hmm.
time I went to a restaurant when I got home and they brought me a check, I was like, what's
Oh
this?
man.
Like,
Yeah, that's
you
the
know,
worst part about it is having to sign them checks and give a debit card or something, man. To not have to come out of my wallet for nothing out there was a huge perk.
yeah, absolutely, man. All right, so let's dive into this football talk, man. Lots of crazy rumors towards the top. Um, I really want to get your opinion on this. This is Ravens related, but what is their opinion on Shador Sanders and the amount of slander and criticism that he's received since this pre-draft process has started?
It's crazy, honestly. Somewhat expected because he's got a big personality. He's a big time talker on and off the field. We know who his father is. He's been in the spotlight for so long. And so, even Dion had this kind of either you love him or you hate him type of personality or type of vibe about him. And Shador has that as well. And I think, you know, in this society, it's tough for a lot of people to kind of draw the line between confidence and arrogance. And I think people don't know which side of the aisle Shador falls on. It seems like, which I'm also not surprised by, certain teams that did meet with him, he rubbed them the wrong way. Because it comes off as cocky a little bit to them. And they want some of these humble guys. They don't want the guys that are super loud. And that's just not Shador's personality. So I said even before the draft season started, there are going to be teams that pass on Shador simply because they don't like him. And there are
Right.
certain teams that Shador is probably not a good fit for
Hmm.
because of the personality he brings and where that team is located. Like
Right.
I think Shador on the field would be a good fit for the Giants, but I don't know if Shador's personality and stuff would fit well with that New York media because
Yeah.
they're going to be on him. I mean, granted, he's already would be walking into a situation where the coach and GM are both on the hot
Already
seat.
hot seat.
But now you have a situation where they're not going to give him the leeway to be a rookie and to grow and stuff like that because they're like, oh, you think you're this and that? Well, you better be that from day one, and they're going to be on him. So that could go south fast. But in terms of Shador, the player, I
Yeah.
I'm kind of surprised to a degree that
Yeah.
the talk has gotten to the point to where they're saying that he's not even going to be a first round draft pick. I don't think he's a
Yeah. That's the
top
thing.
3 to 5 pick type guy. I don't think he's the best quarterback in his class, but in a year where the quarterback class is fairly weak, Shador has done it. He did it at South Carolina State. I mean,
Yep. Jackson State. Yep.
Jacksonville State, at Jackson State, and then we see him transfer to Colorado and play in a Power 5 conference and do well, put up numbers. Now, he has his flaws. He holds the ball too long. He takes too many sacks. But on the flip side, he's accurate as ever. He plays as confident as he talks. And he has a more of a talented arm than I think people will give him credit for. He's not Lamar Jackson. He's not even Cordell Stewart in terms of
No.
athleticism, but he
No.
he can move. He's smart. He's a smart guy that has a very talented arm. So I think he can make plays. The question with him, I think, and it was similar to a question that I had about Caleb Williams coming out last year. Can they take the layups? Can you
Yes.
live with some check down passes? Can you live with, taking a sack on third down or taking the check down to maybe even go on a punt? But can you live with that over taking the 50-yard pass down the field, taking a shot in double coverage and stuff like that? As confident as he is, sometimes that can get you into trouble. And I do think constantly hunting the big play is a lot of these quarterbacks' downfalls when they're coming out of college to this level in the NFL. So that would be my biggest concern with him. But no doubt he can play, and I do think he should be drafted in the first round.
No, I agree absolutely. The weirdest thing is we have to we got to stop this, man. Every year there's some young quarterback, African American, who is talented but has flaws. They all do, and we watch the media try to push them down. I don't know what is whether it's the league trying to devalue his value and to be able to get him to fall to a certain point or what have you. But we watch them diminish these kids who've had success in college, and then we watch them, you prop up these mid-tier players, right, that weren't really that great. And you're like, okay. So for example, I'll go back to 2018. We watched how they just, you know, flat out disrespected Lamar Jackson. I mean, you're talking about a Heisman Trophy winner who probably should have won Heisman back to back and back to back years, right? Because his second year was better than his first year as a starter. We watched what he did, playing at Louisville and how he dominated. And when we watched them talk about how he should play receiver and running back and all these things, and then we had to sit there and watch them glaze, so to speak, Josh Rosen, right, and Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold and all of whom are not better than Lamar Jackson, but they got propped up. They was able to, for some reason, you can show what their ceilings can be and what their potential can be, but when it was about Lamar, it was all about his flaws. They didn't even bother to talk about what his ceiling could be and what his potential could be in the right system. It was all about what he couldn't do. And that's what I hear with Shador. I hear about everything that he can't do, but I'm not hearing what can he do? What about the things he can do? And I do think he is probably the most accurate quarterback in his draft. When you talk about just short to intermediate, like he's really accurate. His ball placement is really good. Does he have the strongest arm? No. Is he the most athletic? Absolutely not. I heard a joke. Someone said that he got his speed from his mama, right? So he's not the fastest, right? He didn't get it from Prime. So he's not the most athletic, but he can get out of trouble, right? Like I've seen Shador scramble. I've seen him avoid sacks. I've seen him shrug off defenders. and go get a first down. So he is not a complete statue. He's just not a dual threat quarterback, right?
Right.
And so instead of telling us, what his ceiling can be, right? Or give us a system that you think he fit well in, right? Like for me, for example, I think that a Shanahan system will be great for him. Play action, move the pocket, West Coast style offense. A lot of the throws are right there, right? It's the reason why Brock Purdy has had success immediately. It's the reason why Tua has success in the NFL without having the strongest arm. It's the reason why, 75% of the NFL is playing in that system, right? CJ Stroud is in that system. Baker Mayfield was in that system. You got whoever's playing for Cleveland is going to be in that system. Minnesota, Sam Darnold's in that system, right? Everywhere that system is, quarterbacks are having success no matter their talent level because the system is tried and true. So I like to see people talk more about what he can do instead of what he can't do. But I get it because he is Deion Sanders' son,
Yeah.
and.
And I would also say you bring up with how they talk about what he can't do. It's funny because I feel like for a while, a lot of black quarterbacks coming out
Mhm,
were their athletic abilities were almost used as a negative against them at times,
mhm,
as if they're a one trick pony. But it seems like a little bit in the case of Shador, because he is a black quarterback and not one of the premier athletic quarterbacks coming out, it's almost like a huge detriment against him because that's what you expect black quarterbacks to do. You expect them to
mhm,
run, you expect them to be mobile, and he's not that. So I think in a way it causes them to wonder if he can be, if he can hang because
mhm,
of his lack of athletic ability. I think he can throw the ball with the best of them. I think he's
mhm,
really smart too, probably more than he gets credit for. But
mhm.
yeah, that is kind of the funny thing to me. I mean, we're seeing him basically prop up Jackson Dart now these days. He's turning into the hot name quarterback all of a sudden, and
Or
it's
Tyler
kind
Shuck.
of to me.
The Tyler Shuck hype, I don't get it. I'm like,
Yeah,
what?
that too.
Tyler Shuck, like the dude been in college for 12 years. You know what I'm saying? Like he was backing up Justin Herbert in college. Like, and
Right.
now it's like you would rather tell me how good Tyler Shuck can be than to tell me what Shador can be. But I get it. The draft is a TV show, and it is about creating drama and
Mhm.
narratives. And we all remember Aaron Rodgers sitting in the green room all those years ago, and that was big. That was drama. That was reality TV. Same thing with Lamar Jackson. That image will forever be out there and iconic of him with his head on the table, with his mom whispering in
Mhm.
his ear, encouraging him. That's the stuff. That's why people watch. Unfortunately, that's why people watch, and you know, uh, it's just why we love the draft. Speaking of why we love the draft, this guy right here won't have to wait very long. Um, how do you think? There's a lot of rumors that this guy will be headed to the Cleveland Browns. What is your thoughts about Travis Hunter potentially coming to the AFC North? And do you feel like he can hang in the North? The North is black and blue division, physical.
Mhm.
You think it'd be a good fit?
Well, I think he's a football player. So I think Travis will be fine no matter where he goes. Now, going to Cleveland is a different case because it's the Browns and they ruin everything that they get. So, it's not necessarily the best environment right now in Cleveland. When is it ever? But that would be my biggest concern is Cleveland going to ruin yet another player? But
Yeah.
in terms of Travis, I don't have any doubts about him. I think the dude is a stud. I think he's incredibly gifted. Um,
Mhm.
he's a true football player. He can do anything you ask him to do, and I do fully expect him to succeed at the NFL level. In terms of him playing on both sides of the ball, I don't think that's necessarily going to be feasible. Now, when you talk about him
Mhm.
playing both sides of the ball in the North, definitely not full time. Let me say that full time. That's a pipe dream. That's a pipe dream. It's not happening at the
That's
NFL
not
level.
happening.
I'm very surprised at the amount of people that have pushed this narrative of Travis Hunter being a full-time dual threat player on both sides of the ball. That is nonsense at the NFL level. It's nonsense. The study hours alone that it'll take to fully prepare yourself to be a corner. I mean, let's assume he does get drafted to the Browns. You now have to put together, you have to study your game plan of how you're going to not only try to beat Marlon Humphrey in a game against the Ravens on the as a receiver, but then you also have to study the crap out of the game plan of how you're going to defend a Zay Flowers on the defensive side of the ball and what you're going to do in read option situations with Lamar and Derrick Henry. And, you know, like there's only a certain amount of hours in a day. You can't. I'm sorry. You just can't convince me that you're going to be able to do that for not just the 18-game season, but also the postseason and then beyond.
And stay healthy. And
then it's that aspect. I mean, you're talking about a game that has is 100% proof when it comes to injury rate. It's happening. It's happening, and the physicality of the AFC North alone, but the NFL. You know, it's not feasible. It's not feasible. Now, if you want to convince me that he can stick on one side, whether it's receiver or corner, I think he's personally, and I flip-flop on this a lot.
Yeah, same.
I one day feel like he's a better receiver than a corner and vice versa. You can convince me maybe that's more game plan oriented. If you want to play both sides of the ball, maybe we treat it, you know, at least at the start of the season, maybe we treat it week to week. And maybe this week you're more receiver, next week you're more cornerback based off the matchups. You know, maybe
I like that.
With that a little bit. But to play both sides full time is just not realistic. I think he's very talented, but I think he's going to have to. And I don't think he's as stuck on it as he's made it seem. You know, in terms of being a full-time player on both sides, it's just not realistic. But I definitely think he can play. And I think he'll be an impact player immediately wherever he goes.
For sure. For Cleveland, what do they need him the most, in your opinion?
Probably, I mean, who's their starting quarterback this year? Is it going to be Joe? Are they drafting it or somebody that they draft?
Right.
I mean, that's
the
they
signed Kenny Pickett. They signed Kenny Pickett. They signed Joe Flacco. Maybe they'll go. There's rumors they might go get Jalen Milroe or somebody like that in the draft. I don't think he's ready to play either way, even if he does get drafted by them.
Yeah, he's another one. He's a weird case.
What if they double dip and find a way to get Shador as well?
I mean, that would be great for them. I mean, that's a grand slam first, second round, whatever it is. However they piece that together, that is amazing for them if they could do that. But
if they could do that, man.
I think for Cleveland, Hunter probably immediately is probably better suited as a receiver. Just because defensively, look, you got Myles Garrett, you got Denzel Ward, like you have playmakers on the defensive side of the ball. Offensively, that's where they struggle the most. That's where Cleveland struggles the most these days. And again, it's going to be the case again if they can't figure out the quarterback position. But I think he'd make the biggest impact on the offensive side of the ball right away. But not to pivot, but you brought up Jalen Milroe. He's another one of those guys. I think he is what people thought Lamar was going to be, in terms of all legs, no arm. Like he's that. I think that's Jalen Milroe. And I'm not trying to knock him. I think if it wasn't for Lamar Jackson, Jalen Milroe's name wouldn't even be thought of in the first round, if you want to be honest. Right now, Lamar is the real reason that teams are willing to take a shot on Jalen Milroe in the first round because
isn't it ironic that when Lamar came out, no one would give him the benefit of the doubt, but now Jalen Milroe is getting the benefit of the doubt because of Lamar. And now in reality, it might be like you said, it might be the way y'all thought about Lamar. This might actually be more that might be actually more the case with this situation where
Yeah.
he is a below average thrower. He
Mm-hmm.
is not a high level reader of defenses. He is a quarterback who needs a lot of develop, who may even end up at another position because he is not as good as a quarterback as Lamar, even as Lamar was at Louisville. And he's
Mm-hmm.
all legs. And not only is he all legs, he's not as elusive as Lamar it was
Right.
or
I
is,
mean,
right? Like when you watch Jalen Milroe's runs, they're all like straight line runs. Like he's
right.
not making people miss. He's not, Lamar is probably, and that's why it bothers me when people keep trying to get into this foot race conversation with Lamar. Lamar's game is more elusiveness than it is straight
Mm-hmm.
speed, right? Now, when he was at Louisville, he could run with the best of them. Like he still is fast. But when you watch Lamar's biggest highlights, it's all about stop, start, making people
Right.
miss. It's about being able to manipulate the defense's leverage against them. As they want to go full speed one way and he's able to stop and go another way. That's what makes him special. That's why Lamar said, I don't race. I don't need to run a 40 time because y'all think my game is about speed, but really my game is about precision.
Mm-hmm.
It's so funny though that all of these guys like Richardson and now Milrow and all these guys are getting opportunities because of Lamar. But it's so funny, Lamar didn't get the same benefit of the doubt. But I guess that's what happens when you're the first to try to do something. People push back on it.
Oh yeah, I mean that's the way it is, and it's unfortunate because this could set it back.
Yeah,
Richardson stinks. Honestly, he
he
stinks,
does.
and
He
and and I
does.
think
Right.
I think Milrow is going to be kind of right up. He's going to be cut from that same cloth unless something drastic changes. But you're right. I
Mm-hmm.
think Lamar was a way better passer than Milrow was coming out of Louisville.
Mm-hmm.
Milrow, a lot of people, and people get upset when guys get compared to Lamar. People were so upset even
Yeah.
last year when Jaden Daniels
Mm-hmm.
kept getting compared to Lamar. And I do think they
Right.
have more comparisons than people will give
They
them
do.
credit for. But I think Lamar is he's the guy.
Yeah.
He's the
He's a
guy at the
standard.
top.
He's a standard. Yeah. He's a standard.
He
Yep.
is who people are going to compare these types of guys to. They're going to compare him to
Yeah.
Lamar. That shouldn't be treated as disrespect. That's
Right.
a sign of respect, if anything,
Yeah. Yeah.
of where they think
It's the
Lamar is.
same
But
reason why
Milrow cannot be.
Lamar got compared to Michael Vick, right?
Right,
Because Vick
right,
was the standard at first, right?
right,
When you thought about
right.
dual threat quarterback, it was Michael Vick, and now it's Lamar Jackson. Now Lamar has surpassed Michael Vick as the dual threat quarterback that we think about. So everything is going to be compared to the standard, and he is the standard. Speaking
No
of the
doubt.
Ravens, this is a perfect transition. We have to talk about this guy. He has been a lightning rod for conversation and debate amongst Ravens fans, and that is none other than Mr. Mark Andrews.
Yeah.
All right, so we know the situation surrounding Mark Andrews. He's in the last year of his contract. He came off a just dreadful postseason. Well, more so just the divisional round was really, really
Hmm.
bad. And so you got fans split, I would say, right? You got some fans who believe he needs to be traded this weekend, and then you have some that feel like he he should stay, right? Get a chance to redeem himself. Um, I do know that I stand on the side of I think Isaiah Likely's ceiling is much higher. I think Isaiah Likely should be featured in this offense a lot more. And when Mark is on the field, Likely's almost an afterthought, right? But whenever Mark is banged up or not available, Likely steps forward and he steps up. What are your thoughts, first of all, about um, just what the overall conversation is about when it comes to Mark Andrews? And then the second question is, do you think he'll get traded this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, you know, Mark has left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths with the way that divisional game ended in Buffalo, rightfully so.
Mm-hmm.
It's a
Yeah.
catch he's got to make, and it's funny because right after that game, all of a sudden things start coming back in my mind,
Mm-hmm.
and I thought back to a Ravens Steelers game a couple of years ago where It was the exact same situation, probably the exact same play.
Mm-hmm.
And Lamar tries to hit Mark outside. He had I think TJ Watt is bearing down on Lamar
I
and
know the
tries to
play. Yep.
and
Yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
and it goes a little far wide. And everybody, the whole conversation all week was, did Mark run his route right, or did Lamar just throw an inaccurate ball and all this and that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I ended up finding out some information later on that it seemed like Mark didn't run his route right. It seemed like Mark was supposed to flatten out a little more than he did. And the case was it ended up being an incomplete pass. But with the divisional round one, that's a pass he's got to make. I've seen people talk about,
Yeah.
oh, the pass has got to be better and all that. That ball hits him right in his sternum. There's nothing else you can ask for as a receiver or any pass catcher for the ball to be placed any better. He couldn't hand it to him
Especially
any better.
since Likely had just caught the touchdown
Right,
right before that.
right. I mean, there's
Like,
no excuse.
there's no
This is Mark
excuse.
Andrews. He's a Ring of Honor guy. He led all tight ends and touchdown passes this year, despite a slow start, despite basically being invisible for the first 3 weeks of the season. Mark was
Yeah.
still able to have a great year. That said, I agree with you. I think Isaiah Likely has a higher ceiling today. Even if Mark is on this team this season, I think Isaiah Likely should be the featured tight end and Mark kind of play the Likely role, because you can't have it to where Likely is making an impact off of 3 catches 1 week, and then you don't get him in the game. You don't really feature him the next week, and then it's a couple of games later he finally gets the ball again. He's too good for that. He's too good for that. Isaiah Likely is undeniably good at this point in his career. They have to get him the ball more. So I think that needs to be a priority. But Mark, I do think the Ravens are a better team with Mark on the roster. I don't think he gets traded. You very rarely see a player of his caliber get traded during the draft. And realistically, the Ravens aren't going to get a good enough package for him. He has 1 year left on his deal. The Ravens are a Super Bowl contender. They need the best roster available. Roster talent trumps salary when you're a team in the Ravens situation. I'm tired of hearing Ravens fans talk to me about money. Who cares about money? It's all about building the best roster. You're not penny pinching right now when you're going for the Super Bowl. Who cares about that? Figure that out later. Right now, it's all about putting together the most talented team, and their best roster involves Mark Andrews on it.
I got you. So let me ask you this though: as a part of the local media, you're in the locker room a lot of times, especially after games and things like that. How did you feel, or what was your opinion when Mark Andrews almost basically avoided the media? Right, we watched in 2023 after the AFC Championship game, Zay Flowers having to stand up there and face the music after fumbling at the goal line. Right, there's a shot of EDC standing behind him in support of him as he's standing there, tears in his eyes, basically, taking accountability for the play that he was involved in. Mark Andrews did not do that. He basically disappeared. And then yesterday there was a quote that came out where he was blaming his gloves being wet, right? Like, and that's what's really that's starting to rub Ravens fans that were on his side the wrong way, because it's like, you didn't say anything for so long, and then the first words out of your mouth is an excuse. People say, well, he took accountability, saying he should have caught it, but that was right after he gave the excuse, right? It's like when someone says, I don't want to make excuses, but the but means I'm about to make an excuse. You know what I'm saying? So what was your thoughts about him, so to speak, avoiding you guys after the game and not speaking to the media about? I mean, he was heavily involved in the last few plays of that game, going back to the fumble and then the drop 2-point conversion. He was heavily involved, and to not get his thoughts about that after the game, I thought it was a complete disservice to the fans, the media, but not most of his teammates, because then Lamar and those guys had to answer those questions.
Exactly. And that's the problem. It's like, and I feel like whether it's PR, whether it's the players, whoever, they don't understand that dynamic of, if in this case, Mark, if he's not going to answer the questions, now everybody else has to answer the questions for him. Now everybody else is stuck having to speak for him. And Mark
Mm-hmm.
was once in that spot during Lamar's
Yep.
contract disputes and all that stuff. Mark
Mm-hmm.
unfairly, in my opinion, was unfairly consistently asked about what Lamar's thinking and what Lamar's going to do about his contract and all this and that. Mark's not his agent. Mark's not the one that's dealing with
Right.
that, but yet he's the one being asked about it. So, and you
Mm-hmm.
brought up Zay. Look, Zay not only answered the questions after the game, Zay also answered questions the following day during locker
Yep.
clean out
Mm-hmm.
again
Yep.
with Odell
Yep.
Beckham standing right there behind him. And he did it. He did it. And
Yep.
as a
Yep.
rookie,
A
and
rookie.
Mark,
Right.
Mark as a guy who's one of the, spokesmen of the locker room, he's one of the leaders on that team. It was incredibly disappointing to see him go about it the way that
That
he
way.
did.
Mm-hmm.
I'm all about consistency. Don't just talk to me when it's good.
Yeah.
Come and stand up there when things aren't going great either. That's where the respect comes. I talked Gunnar Henderson last year after the
Mm-hmm.
Orioles were swept, and
Mm-hmm.
Gunnar spoke to a group of the media that could get there, and I wasn't a part of that group. And
Okay.
I went up to Gunnar afterwards and asked him to speak again, and he did it. And it ended up
Mm-hmm.
being more media to come over there to talk. And that's something he didn't
Mm-hmm.
have to do. And I went and told
Right.
him about that afterwards. Like, dude, I respect the hell out of you for that,
Mm-hmm.
because you didn't have to do it, but you did.
Mm-hmm.
And that goes a long way, not just because, in the sense, and getting back to Mark, that's one of those
Mm-hmm.
instances where it could seem like he's talking to the media, but really, no, he's talking to you guys. He's talking to the
Yeah.
fans. That's one of
Yeah.
those cases where he has to answer to the fans for that,
Right.
as to
Mm-hmm.
why now the season's over because he didn't make a play that he should be able to make in his sleep. So I
Mm-hmm.
don't necessarily give him a pass for any of that. I thought it was handled poorly all the way
Yeah.
around by
Agreed.
everybody. Um,
Agreed.
but I also, in this day and age, you know, uh, your headspace, your mentality, that's very important. Very important
Yeah.
to be mentally there. And
Mm-hmm.
I want Mark to be mentally there. I don't want to see him stress out about this or crash out about this, and then we're seeing
Mm-hmm.
some even worse news break out about Mark
Mm-hmm.
Andrews down the line.
Mm-hmm.
So if him not talking to
That's a good
us,
point.
protected his mental peace and allowed him to still, because these dudes, man, you just don't know what's going through their mind and what they're dealing with as professional athletes. I have
Right.
learned to kind of humanize these guys more being around them. So if that
Mm-hmm.
protected his mental peace and kept him from doing something maybe he didn't need to do, so be it. But
Yeah.
I didn't love it. But I also understand he's got to protect himself as well.
Yeah. I agree. I understand. I mean, I do believe that he could have endeared himself to the fan base a little bit better had he spoken. I think that him not speaking absolutely rubbed a lot of people the wrong way and made them feel like, okay, he's above accountability, right? He's above um he's above having to do what his teammates have to do every year, basically, because every year the season always seems like it ends in the same way, right? With disappointing because a play here or play there didn't go our way. And so someone has to stand there and face the music. I remember when it was Lamar Jackson and he had a terrible game. He had to stand up there and talk about how, it's on me, and then, Zay Flowers having to stand up there as a rookie and say, I got to make that play. I got to be better, right? So Mark, man, you to see a guy who had a C on his chest for that game. You're a captain,
Mhm.
right? Like, you know, I always remember one of my favorite lines from Remember the Titans. Attitude reflect leadership. You got a C on your chest, and you disappeared during the media portion of the post game, and people don't understand media. They're the bridge between the players and the fans. These people pay your salaries basically. They go out and support you. They buy the jerseys. They buy the sports packages. They go to the games and get the tickets. They want to know what happened, right? And the media is there to bring them that information. And I mean, even if you say, "Hey, man, I'll take 2, 3 questions and I'm out," right? just do it, man. Rip the band-aid
Mm-hmm.
off and get it over with. I always
Right.
looked at Mark as a high character guy, and it's a little disappointing that he didn't stand up there. So we got a couple of minutes left, and I do want to put you through a a mock draft, so to speak, of 3 rounds just for the Ravens.
Okay.
And I want to get your thoughts. Um, before we do it though, gut feeling right now, hours away from the draft, who do you think the Ravens end up taking?
I mean, I have heard about how much they love Malachi Stark. So
Me too. Me too.
this is more of a reach, right? This is more of a bold prediction.
Okay.
Um, I think they move up a couple of spots to get their guy. I maybe, and while I just said here, it's going to be a little bit of a contradiction, but again, this is a
Mhm.
bold prediction, probably not
Right.
going to happen. But
Right.
I talked about how I expect Mark to be on this roster, but
Yes.
let's say they do want to move up, maybe what four spots or so to go get Malachi Starks. I could see Mark being a part of a trade with, let's say they want to move up to 22. Mark
Mhm.
goes to the Chargers. They do a pick swap for the first round with the Chargers. And then maybe they get the Chargers because they're good buddies with with Joe Ortiz, and them get the Chargers to throw in a 4th round or something for them. So it's Mark and the Ravens first round pick for the Chargers first round pick and their 4th round to move up to 22 to go get Malachi Starks. And that's assuming Eamon Warrior is already gone, because if Eamon Warrior is there, they're definitely taking him above Starks. But assuming Eamon Warrior's gone,
Oh,
they move up to 22, they get Starks, and that allows them to kind of get back to this kind of hybrid defense that they've been wanting to build ever since they drafted Kyle Hamilton.
wow. So you think they like Starks better than, I mean, sorry, you think they like Emin Worry better than
I
Starks?
think a lot of teams like Eamon Warrior better than Starks. I would imagine that they're probably one of them. I know how I haven't heard a lot of Eamon Warrior with the Ravens, but maybe that's just because of the expectation that he'll already be long gone. But I've definitely heard Starks' name quite a bit linked to them. So he's probably the more reasonable one, the more realistic one. But I think
Mm,
if given the chance, they would
mhm.
gladly take Even Warrior. I mean, it's similar to the situation with Kyle Hamilton when they got him. They didn't expect him to
Mhm.
be there at 14, but there he was, and they immediately turned that card in.
Absolutely. And then I see, so I put your proposed trade in. As you can see, it is completely green. They think that would be a great trade, an even trade. So it would be Mark Andrews in 27 to the Chargers for 22 and 125. We can offer this trade, and I guarantee it'll go right through. I don't have to force it. Let's just see. Let's just see. We get it to 22. And of course, Starks goes to the Steelers.
Now, of course.
One pick.
Of
one
course.
pick one pick before the Ravens, of
Because they
course,
already
because
knew.
exactly. All right, so the board falls this way. Let's say you make this trade and Starks. Obviously, the Ravens wouldn't make that trade unless Starks was there, right? They
Right.
wouldn't need to know he's already available
Right.
before they make that trade, right? So let's just do this real quick, just for the sake of the trade, because I want to get a realistic idea of what you would do just at 27 for the Ravens without the trade. That would be a fun trade though, for sure. All right, so let's start the draft. All right, so this Starks goes one pick. See, they trolling us. Starks goes to the
Yeah.
Rams this time.
It's on
One pick.
purpose,
They troll.
man.
Yeah, they troll. They know we want Starks to the Ravens, so they like, nah, we ain't gonna let that happen. All right, so let's say the board falls this way. Let's say Starks is gone. It is a
Mhm.
possibility. This is not impossible. Derek Harmon's gone. I got I love. Josh Simmons is gone. I love him as
Simmons is
well.
gone.
Obviously, Mike Green is gone. This would be awful. Donovan Azaruko is gone. Um, Michael Williams is gone, which I love. I'm happy about that
Mhm.
because I'm not a big Michael guy. All right, so let's say this is the board: Walter Nolan, Luther Burden, James Pierce Jr., Matthew Golden. These are the guys available. Shamar Stewart. You even have Donovan Jackson, the guard tackle from Ohio State, and then you also have Tyler Booker as well. Where would you go with this first pick? if this was the way the board felt.
I'm probably fielding calls right now about moving
Okay.
back. To be honest with
Yep.
you, I'm
Mhm.
probably taking calls. Um,
Mhm.
but if I'm picking, I'm looking at either Pierce or Nolan at this point. I
Okay.
think it's got to go defense. I think they want immediate impact players. Corner is a possibility too,
Mm.
but I put the D line slash edge rusher ahead of corner right now.
Me too.
Um,
Me too. Right now, we only got Washington. They only have Washington, Jones, and Metabike. I think that's it because
yeah,
Pierce is retired and they didn't bring Urban back, so
right.
they're really thin. They're really thin up front. So let's go Nolan here.
Yeah,
Is that
I'm
okay?
leaning Nolan right there. Yeah, let's go with Nolan.
All right, we go Nolan there. Then we go down to the Ravens' second pick at pick 59. This is the board. So you got Omar Norman Lott, another interior defensive lineman.
Hmm.
You got a linebacker, Demetrius Knight. You have Elijah Arroyo. Jalen Williams is a guy I really like. Andrew Makuba's a safety. I love Andrew Makuba. I think he's one of the best safeties in this draft. You got CJ West. If you want to look at some of the edge rushers, let's just go to the edge real quick. You got Ivy, you got Oluwafemi Aladejo, and then you got Josiah Stewart, Kyle Kennard. You think the Ravens would double dip at interior defensive line here, or
I
you
don't
got
think they double
corner?
dip right here. Let me see some of the linemen, the interior offensive linemen, because I
Yeah,
I
go.
could
Yeah.
see them leaning there as well, and that's
You
already
got both Georgia
showing
guys. You
speed.
got Ratledge. You got Fairchild. Now there are some guys who are listed as tackles,
Right,
but they project
right.
more as guards, like Ariante Ursary, Jonah Savianea. Sorry if I mentioned killed that name, but Wyatt Mullum is another one. So these are a couple guys who are listed as tackles that I do think might play guard
You know
in
what? I've actually been intrigued with Ursary during
mhm,
this draft process. I think they do want a swing guy that can play multiple positions. Um,
okay.
I'm leaning Ursary, but let me look at the safety again. It's between him and that safety from Texas right now in my mind.
Yeah, Makuba. I love Makuba, man. Oh, you would make Ravens flock so happy with a Makuba pick, especially after you missed on Starks in the first round.
Right, right. Yeah, let's go with Makuba. Let's keep beefing up the defense.
Yep, absolutely. And then that allows Kyle to move to
Right.
his natural position, which is the star role. We can roll him a little bit.
So
All
now
right,
it look
now
like
do
we
you want
got
to
to
go
run
O
on
line?
tackles.
We did. Yep, we get Mimbao. We got Mullum. Who else? We got Jonah also went. Wow, Ozzy Trapilo went. All the tackles just basically went.
Yeah.
Let's see what's left. Cameron Williams, Charles Grant. I do know he visited the Ravens
Mm-hmm.
recently. Um, I don't. What pick are we at? We're at pick 91. Okay, I mean he's 95 graded. Um, let's check the interior. It might have better options because if one of the Georgia guys it is, I just say like
Yeah.
Fairchild. I like him a lot. I like Fairchild a lot. Is there another position we're not thinking about, like a wide
Corner for sure.
receiver or corner?
Mm, not great.
Yeah, I am
Uh,
intrigued by Jacob Parrish. He's interesting. Kobe Bryant is a dog. He just
Kobe
you know
Bryant, I do like a lot. I do like
yeah.
Kobe Bryant. I feel like could probably get him in the fourth round though.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, I agree. I agree. What about this? Jack Sawyer is still sitting here, edge rusher from
mm,
Ohio State. That's kind of surprising because he I don't like him in the first round, like in the beginning where pre-draft process he was like in the first round, but I think he's kind of
mhm,
come back down to where he should be. And we're 91; they have him ranked as 92, and he has a lot. I mean, he's just an effort guy, right? He's just all effort. He'd be interesting to plug in there along with our other guy, Walsh Nolan McCool. It'd be fun. It'd be funny though for Ravens fans if we went defense with all. If the
I
Ravens
mean,
went
and
defense
it
with their
really
first two
wouldn't
picks.
shock me. It really wouldn't shock me at all.
Yeah.
Let me see the receiver pool again.
Okay.
because with receiver, I'm thinking receiver, and also they need return guys. I'm not saying I'm drafting a guy
Yes, they
strictly
do.
for returner in the third round, but if I could get a guy that can kind of do both in the third round, that would be nice. I mean, Restrepo, okay, not really, and I don't know what he's like as a returner, but decent receiver. Who was it? Scroll down a little bit. I thought I just saw. It was Isaiah Bond that I saw. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I like
Ty-
Isaiah Bond, but he's apparently he has
yeah,
some stuff going on. Yeah, I don't know what's going
yeah.
on with that.
There's some receivers there that you could probably wait. I wouldn't even hate if they ended up getting a guy like Ty Felton later on
Same,
in the
same,
in the
same.
in the draft. So I could probably wait on receiver.
Mhm.
Um
We traded Mark. Will we look at a tight end?
if we trade well, we didn't trade Mark.
Oh, we didn't. No, you're right. You're right.
Yeah,
We
we
didn't
we
trade.
we,
Not in
we
this
we still
scenario.
got Mark,
Yeah,
but you do
still got
still
Mark.
have all your tight ends on the last year of their contract. So
That's
I
true.
mean,
That's
I
true.
think at
All three
some
of them.
point tight end
That is
will be looked at.
that is interesting.
Um
That all three tight ends are on a. So okay, what if? Let me see. Let me check linebacker out. Let's see what the linebackers are looking like. Because I do know they talked about maybe an off-ball linebacker. I do like that. Danny Stutzman. I don't know if I take him here though.
yeah.
Um,
Probably
see.
not taking any of the linebackers right now.
Man, the interior D line class is so loaded. Look at these three.
Still there.
Norman Lott, Phillips, and Caldwell are like, what? This is why I'm saying I told Ravens, I'm like, I wouldn't be surprised they just say, we're not gonna do edge, we're just gonna draft 2 or 3
Mm-hmm.
interior D linemen because this this position is the best in the draft. And so why not load up on a position that is the strength of the draft instead of reaching
Right.
for other positions that you might need that, but it just the value just doesn't line up. Getting a Norman Lott or I mean, this dude's ranked the 34th
I'm
best
about to
player
say
in
the
the
fact
draft
that
according
Norman
to
Lott is
PFF.
still there is kind of
It's
like,
insane.
yeah,
Yeah,
I might lean Norman Lott right now. I might lean
yeah.
Norman Lott and take the Eagles route and just build up
Hmm.
my defensive line
Yeah.
and just
And
shuffle them through. Just shuffle them
Raven
through.
and Ravens. This is Ravens 101. What do they live by? BPA, best player
Mm-hmm.
available.
Yep.
Hey, we might not even look at it as a glaring need because we took Walter Nolan. But here's the thing: even with Walter Nolan, that brings you up to 4 D linemen on your roster. The Ravens
Right.
like a rotation. They like a rotation, and you need at least. I think last year they carried how many interior D linemen? They carried 5. Pierce,
What
Urban,
Jones, Matabike, uh, uh,
Washington,
Washington, Pierce,
Pierce, and Urban, right?
Urban. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's it. They carry 5. So right now they got 3. So Walter Nolan and Norman Lott would make 5. And then you get
Mm-hmm.
younger. Also, Travis Jones is a free agent next year, by the way.
Right.
So this makes a
It
lot of sense.
comes
We're
at
gonna
you
go
fast.
Norman Lott
It
here.
happens fast.
Bro, it feel like Jones just got drafted. And if
Yeah.
I literally remember his draft like it was yesterday, and to think that he's on the last year of his deal. So we're gonna go Norman Lott here.
Yeah, I'm fine with Norman Lott.
All right, cool. All right, Ravens fans, here you go. Cordell Woodland's 3-round mock draft. Defense, and more
We got an
defense.
A.
And PFF loves it. We got an A on it. They gave you an A for this. Last thing before I let you get out of here, man. So there's a rumor going around that if the Giants drafted Carter, they could be open to trading Thibodeau.
Mm-hmm.
There's a trade that I proposed, and I want you to get your thoughts on it. If the Giants offered pick 34 and Thibodeau to the Ravens for pick 27, would you take it?
They offer pick 34.
Mm-hmm.
Probably would, honestly. I probably would. I mean, the thing with Thibodeau is he's not going to show up every game. At least he
Right.
didn't for them. He didn't for
At
them.
least, right. A different scenery, different environment might
Right.
change that.
You
Yeah,
get an extra second round pick, a high second round pick at that, borderline a late first. Um,
basically.
and if I would think that the Ravens would have some strong discussions about that. I mean,
Yeah.
Thibodeau comes in, and I think at worst, him and Owe are like neck and neck, but I would be willing to
Mm-hmm.
give Thibodeau kind of an edge over Owe. Definitely an edge
The
over Owe. I
ceiling,
think he's done more
because of the ceiling.
than Owe
Yeah, he has
has,
a
and then
higher
yeah, his
ceiling.
ceiling is definitely higher than
Mm-hmm.
Owe's. But is it marginally better? Or is it, how substantial is it? I don't know. I like Thibodeau isn't
Yeah.
going to be the thing that changes how I feel about the
Mm-hmm.
Ravens defense all of a sudden.
No,
He'd be a
no,
nice addition,
no. Right.
but he
He's
doesn't
also younger
necessarily.
than Owe too. He's younger. He was drafted in 22. No, I'm sorry. He was drafted in 22, and Owe was drafted in 21. So, um, I don't know if he's like age wise older, but I
Right.
do know that they're a draft class apart, and Thibodeau came out a year later. So, um, and he was a top 5 pick. So, I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
you
he
bank
has his
on,
flash.
hey, we put
He
him in the.
flashes. He flashes at
Yeah, he has.
times.
He
It's
has.
just not very consistent, which is kind of what the Ravens have been dealing with Owe. He flashes, but then he has times where he's not there. So I don't know. Like I would have a discussion about it if nothing else. I would definitely talk about it.
Hmm. Absolutely, absolutely. All right, man. Cordell Willing, I thank you so much, brother. What you got going on tonight? Tell the people where you gonna be at. Are you doing a broadcast for the draft? What you got going on?
Yeah, yeah. Appreciate you having me. I'll be
Mm.
on the Fan tonight from 6:30 to 8. Me and my guy Ben Hall getting you ready for the draft
My guy
with the
Ben.
fresh take tonight. So we'll be talking a lot of draft stuff. We'll be talking a lot of Orioles as well. But definitely, yeah, we'll be getting you ready for the draft up until 8. And then from there, I'll be headed out to the castle and watch the draft there tonight and talk to John and Eric and those guys afterwards for that post draft press conference. So I probably won't be getting home until like 1:15, 1:30 tonight. I'm fully expecting that.
Man, hey, if you're not following Cordell Woodland on Twitter, man, you're missing out, man. The guy does a fantastic job of covering the Orioles and the Ravens. Again, like you said, he going to be on the radio, and then after that, he going to be bringing you a live reaction to the Ravens' first round pick if they make one tonight.
Right.
Right after, after how the Ravens do, they make their pick, and then Eric and I and Ozzy and John, I all come down and they talk about why they made the selection that they made. So, um, absolutely, man. Um, appreciate you coming on. Have a great draft night. And once again, man, thanks again. And I'll be
Yeah,
seeing you around. And
for sure.
hey, I'm gonna be tapping back in with you, man, after probably day 2, because by then we'll have an idea of what the heck is really about to happen with the Ravens this offseason. So, all right, man. Thank you. Thanks again.
For sure, man. Appreciate you.
Yes, sir.